Junkie Nation, what's up? Gorgeous George and Goes are back. We get to welcome former Strikeforce lightweight champion Gilbert Melendez, El Nino from Santa Ana. What's going on, Gil? How are you?
That's right, Santa Ana in the house. I'm doing great. Thanks for asking. Thanks for having me. I'm currently in Niagara Falls. I can see it out my window over here in a hotel, chilling with you guys talking. I'm going to do an LFA later tonight. So that's what's up.
So let's start with that. So I've noticed that you've been part of that rotation at LFA with Ron Kruk, doing what you've kind of been doing for many years back in the, ESPN days, Fox. We saw you on that studio. So you've definitely honed your skills. So much easier for an athlete when they're done to kind of transition, but yet still be involved in the sport that they love. Can you talk about that? I mean, you've probably done at least 10 years now behind the mic too, right?
Yeah, you said it there. I mean, I truly love the sport. I was a fan of the sport before I was a fighter, and I'm still a fan to this day. It's not as exciting as being in the cage and fighting, but being around it, being next to Ron, calling the fights, being around all these young fighters who are really hungry. They're almost like that college level football player who are super humble, super excited and giving it their all. So I love getting a taste of that. I love seeing it firsthand in the cage. I love going in and interviewing people and even sharing my experiences with the young fighters. And anytime they ask me advice, I love to give it to them. And like I said, man, I just love the sport, and it's fun to be around it and just BS with my homie Ron while watching them.
Are there any fighters so young that they may not have even remembered your career, and they're just like, I guess wondering where all this experience that comes out of your mouth is coming from?
Yeah, there was a young fighter at the rules meeting, or we're having fighter meetings yesterday, and he's going to make his pro debut, and he kept referring back to well, when you fight you'll understand, you'll fight, you'll understand, like if I don't understand, and I was like, oh, I was laughing about that, but it's actually an interesting time because I'm 40 years old now. And youngsters are watching me when they were 10 years old, 13, 14, 15. So I feel like those youngsters who saw me at that 10-year-old to 14, 15-year-old age, they have a certain different type of respect for you because they remember you from those years. Whereas when youngsters that were seeing me when they were 25 and I was 32, or I was 30 and they were 22, I think they still kind of viewed me as a competitor or someone they wanted to beat. And I think that's out the window now. And so there's a lot of young, humble guys that really remember me, and they make me feel old. Like, I remember watching you at SAP Center with my dad when I was 13 years old. And how old are you now? And they're out there doing their thing. So yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of youngsters who don't know me, George, but the ones who do, they're happy to come up to me and say what's up and give me a lot of respect.
I would have that 10-second finish with Diego Sanchez ready to go, and Joe Rogan saying, "This is the greatest fight I've ever seen," like kind of just hold it up in front of their face, like, hey, you better do some research, pal, or whatever.
Yeah, get your history lesson going. But you know what, man, that fight with Diego Sanchez, I mean, it's on almost every damn week somewhere on my feed or everything, so I don't have to do that. And it's actually great to have that experience with Diego and such a legendary fight that it's on my feed all the time. I thought I had many great fights in my career, but that one always pops up. And people ask me, do you get sick of hearing that? I was like, are you kidding me? Do I get sick of hearing that? No, I do not get sick of anyone mentioning that fight and being able to be immortal in the MMA world through that fight with Diego.
Yeah, and you mentioned the SAP Center. How can we forget the trilogy with Josh Thomson? Those were some classics. You had a great career, man, with title defenses. A rival in Thomson, for example. A lot of times fighters are defined by, I guess, some of their rivalries, and you guys pushed each other, trading the belt back and forth. That was also pretty cool. You fought over in Japan. If I'm not mistaken, there's a Shudo belt there. Strikeforce, of course, UFC. So, looking back, you got to be pretty damn proud. We really haven't chatted, I guess, since your retirement. And in fact, before I ask you this question, are you retired, or could an Eagle FC pull you in like they pulled in Diego or anyone else that maybe writes a big check? What are your feelings on that? You seem to always be training fighters and staying in the shape. So let's go there, and then we can talk about memories.
Yeah, I mean, as a fighter, I will always be a fighter, and I try to be as optimal as possible. I know I'm moving on as a professional fighter. I am no longer like focused on being a prize fighter. I'm focusing on my gyms and producing athletes and staying in shape. But of course, I don't think, you know, it's hard to completely hang it up. If there's a great opportunity out there and it's the right fight, you know, I'm not into fighting youngsters who want to like stick and move and kick my leg and run. But I do love fighting, and I could definitely be enticed to come back. Of course, there's that fight in me, but I do recognize that that time of my life is over, or damn nearly over. So I have been trying to move on and focus my energy in other places. Yeah. So my 100% focus isn't my training. You know, it was great when you can wake up, train, you know, everyone takes care of you because you're on this mission, you train again, and everyone takes care of you some more, and they're just supporting you along the way. And right now it's more like I'm getting my training in as much as possible and supporting everyone else, and trying to run business and do a lot of other things, and I'm out here. But yeah, I love fighting, and if I were to fight, I would definitely, you know, you said Eagle FC. I mean, great organization. I think if there's anyone who really promoted me well was Scott Coker, and I am interested in, you know, interested maybe even boxing. Some of that stuff does interest me, and I do get hungry, and I do watch fights, and I start foaming. I saw shadow boxing. I'm like, I could whoop that dude. You know, I start going that direction. Then I try to bring it. Then I try to bring it down a little bit. You know.
Yeah. I mean, so much has happened in our sport that I always learned to never say never. Pat Miletich fought later in his career because the right offer came. You know, he did it in boxing and MMA. Renzo Gracie, Royce Gracie, Tito and Chuck. I think they fought for De La Hoya. You just never know what might come about out there. So it's good to hear that the door's not completely shut, but you said, hey, pretty much as a prize fighter, I am done. You're focusing on new things. So then let me ask you this. Aside from probably what we named, the Thomson fights, you know, your title defenses, Diego, do you have other moments that stand out that maybe don't get talked about in terms of like fun moments of your career?
Yeah, I feel like I've had a great journey. You know, I mean, I can go through them all. I mean, my first time fighting in Hawaii was great. I got to fight the number 2 145 pounder in the world, and this is young in the sport, Stephen Bozo Paulin. You know, I just looked at it as a win, getting a free trip to Hawaii. You know, getting some pocket change. My boy Jake's out there, my boy Toucan's out there, Larry's out there, and you know, and I win. And then, you know, that was a great experience. And because of that, I got to go to Japan, had many great experiences out there. I think my first fight in Pride against Kawajiri was big for me because he was ranked number 2 in the world at the time. Mm-hmm. And we had a legendary fight. A lot of people called it fight of the year. And what made me so proud about that fight is the fact that he dropped me in the first round. He dropped me and he was on top of me. And at that moment, I spoke to myself. Obviously, it happens quick because it's real time. And I said, hey, man, we're either going to get up or we're going to stay down here. And I was able to get up and finish the fight and get a W and buckle him a little bit, drop him and really take it to him and come back. And overcoming adversity is huge. You know, that's what I love about fighting and you know, to overcome adversity. And I did that in that fight. And that was huge for me. So yeah, man, that was probably one of my greatest moments. I enjoyed that. And of course, the Thomson fights, you know, going 5 rounds with Masvidal was great for me too. You know, avenging my loss against Ishida. You know, that was a great moment. A lot of great moments, man. I don't want to go into it, but if you have a lot of time and some beers, man, I'd happily go down it and elaborate a lot more.
That'll definitely have to be in the future. And I'm glad you brought up Tatsuya Kawajiri, man. Definitely one of my favorite Japanese fighters of all time. What an entertainer. What a scrappy dude. Yes. And then what about on the side of, I guess, any regrets, anything you look back on and go, I wish I wouldn't have done that, or I wish I would have fought this way, or anything on that end?
Yeah, I mean, you look back and, you know, I feel like I did things right. I loved my fight career. I did get tired at the end, you know, and though my last fights in the UFC weren't the best, financially, I was the biggest winner at that time. So sometimes, you know, I'm proud of what I accomplished, you know, and I went down a tough lineup over there and at the UFC, but no, I'm really proud of what I accomplished. You know, there's certain things you look back on and I would have fought differently this way, but it's not, you know, you just weren't prepared. Like, the first time I fought Thomson, he surprised me with his movement. A lot of teeps and kicks from my body is something I've never really experienced, and it forced me to evolve because of it. But when I look back on my fight with Benson Henderson for the title, which I believe I won, I feel like, oh man, I look back, what if I just did a little bit more, pressed a little bit more? You have these regrets, and you look back at those things. But I'm fine. I'm comfortable with everything. Like you have your ups and downs in fighting. I mean, that's what the sport is. But I love chasing dreams. I love chasing great moments. I treat every day like a fight to this day. I'm always fighting for my family. I'm fighting for my team. It's just my attitude. It's kind of how my dad brought me up and what I learned from my Santa high school wrestling, and I learned from my team, a Gracie fighter, and what I'm good with everything. I'm happy. I appreciate it, and I'm loved. I was loved before fighting. I'm loved by my friends and family after. So yeah, man, no, I'm good.
Yeah, you know what? I failed to mention you also have a WEC belt as well. So one hell of a career. And don't forget, folks, Gil's got a win over Lorenzo Fertitta. When you brought up the whole, I made out well on certain contracts. I remember back in the day, I mean, you had some great timing. I think you had a great re-sign with Strikeforce, and then you had a great offer, a free. So your free agency was done, very well. And then coming over to the UFC, I know that Lorenzo was brought in, and there was some like high stakes poker kind of being played there. And we don't mean this as any disrespect to Lorenzo, obviously, but this was one of those where I guess you got backed into a corner, you made a decision, and then the UFC said, "All right," and kind of dropped their cards. So
Yeah.
I don't know what I don't know if you want to clarify any of that or whatever, because like I said, when you mentioned something about it earlier, I was like, yeah, man, you scored very well in that department.
Yeah, I was definitely proud of that moment. I mean, as a fighter, you don't really have the edge. Maybe when you're young, you think you're the boss, but Lorenzo's the boss, Dana's the boss, and it's sometimes it's tough for fighters to recognize that when you're one of the best in the world. But I feel like I had a good business sense. I had really good people around me. I knew arguments and hostile discussions are made to happen behind closed doors, and in front of the cameras you have to lift everyone up, and it's very rare to have pocket aces, and I had pocket aces, so I had to go all in against against the UFC and everyone at that time. And I think I'm one of the first people who really got to play the market the way I did. And I think a lot more people do nowadays. And I'm one of the first people that was able to negotiate certain things in their contracts, where, maybe you can lose 5 in a row and not get cut and get guaranteed money. I think that stuff is unheard of. So I consider that stuff a W. But yeah, I feel like I placed myself in a great position. I really beat Benson Henderson. I had the best fight ever against Diego Sanchez, and I happened to be, my contract was up, so I was in a great position, and I played ball. I think I played it respectfully, and I think things got heated a little bit. But that's the name of the business, right? If things go smoothly and everyone's hugging and kissing, and you sign a contract, that means you got ripped off. But if you go through some hurdles and you bump some heads and you ruffle some feathers, you probably worked hard to get what you deserve. And there's no, I didn't get no one up on anybody. It was just business. Dana's the man, Lorenzo's the man. Those guys are the man, dude. They're the businessmen of men of all. And I was small potatoes. It was a big win for me, but for them it was probably not much. But they also get to spar that fight every day. They get to spar these fights every day with these contracts, right? We don't get to spar these fights every day. We fight. So they get their reps in on that, and it's nothing to them. And not just Dana and Lorenzo and just whoever owns the organization, Scott Coker, whoever's, everyone running ONE FC, all these great organizations out there. That's their game. They know that game. So you just try as a fighter to play your cards as best as possible and try to be a team player and try to prove your worth, and then you just try to cash in when you can, because it's I had a long career, and I still might squeeze a little bit more, but it's still a short career, no matter what. We get 20 years, 15 years in this game, where other people get 30 in their professions, and and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I'm proud of those moments, and you know, I don't brag about them all the time, but I am proud of those moments, and yeah, it was a great time.
Yeah, well, I just got to say, you know, Gilbert Melendez, you're a shrewd businessman. I tip my hat to you.
Hey, I'll take that, man. Appreciate you
No, I
saying
wasn't
that.
talking to you. I was talking to your dad because he was the manager. He was the one that negotiated the deal.
Why you setting me up for that? Why you trying to make me look stupid, George? You're doing that shit, bro.
Hey,
Man, you like those
I,
jokes, bro. You like those jokes. Yeah,
early
hey.
on, I gave you the W, you know, but right here, I thought, a little Santa Ana humor. All right, go
Yeah,
ahead, Ghost. What do you got?
that's the
Plus,
yeah.
your dad gets the props. Your dad
Hey,
gets the props, right? You
hey,
love him, right? We love
I
him.
love my Gil
Yeah.
Senior, man. Yeah, man. He whipped me in shape, and he's my best bro to this day.
Yeah.
I gotta shout out your dad too. He's awesome. We love him.
Yeah. Hey, we gotta shout out Eric Salazar too, man. He's a new dad now. He's a new dad.
Yeah.
Eric Salazar, you know. Shout out to him.
Nice. All
Yeah,
right.
he's been a trip. I love Eric. I do want to. So we brought up Diego Sanchez in that fight. You feel like it's only a matter of time before you get that call and they tell you, "Hey, what's your jacket size? We got something for you."
Oh man, I don't know. I do think about that. I try not to dwell on those things that you have no control over, you know. But sometimes I do think about it when people see those yellow jackets, and you know, people bring it up, and you know, I don't like to show too much, but of course, man, I'd love to have a yellow jacket alongside, you know, with our legendary fight. It'd definitely be an honor. I definitely like to do that. And you know, and Diego's one person I think of that if I were to do it again. It's been about 9 years since we fought. You know, maybe in our 10th year, that's one that makes me think I would probably do that one again.
Well, I think that's why probably George brought up Eagle. And well, you brought up Bellator, and that made me think, why not do the Benson one again if you were to come back and do that over at Bellator? What would you think of that rematch? Because you're right. A lot of people had you win in that fight.
Yeah, I look at Benson too, and I see his success out there. I see he's doing a great job out there. He's someone I think about fighting as well. Those are guys that are on my radar sometimes. That you know that hey man, I'd love to run some of those back. You know, maybe even Josh Thomson for. Those are some things you know that I can get motivated for to, you know, to get out of my seat and do it. But again, you know, if I do it, you know, I want to get paid. I want to do it right.
Gil, so let's keep it real for a second here. Love this new generation of fighters, but there's something about these guys that came from WEC, Strikeforce. You guys are just cut from a different cloth, man. What is it about you guys in that era that, boy, you produced a lot of good fighters and just a lot of great moments in sports? It seemed like you just had this different drive.
Yeah, well, when I started this fighting stuff, it wasn't about fame. It wasn't about fortune. It wasn't about Instagram and popularity. There was none of that, actually. By the time I was like 7 or 8-0, I was still trying to educate people what mixed martial arts is and what UFC is, what fighting is, what I was doing in Japan. So you got to understand that I took this path not to become a celebrity, not to become rich, but to travel the world, to test myself. I did the warrior way. You know, I just want to travel and test myself and become one of the best fighters. And of course, make some money along the way, but there wasn't this giant pot of gold at the end of it, you know, where I think now you have athletes who are coming up in the sport and they're looking at it, you know, they're trying to build their Instagram, you know, they're trying to, you know, they want to make money, you know, their focus is getting taken away from other things. They have different goals. So I think it's a little bit different, man. And, you know, I'm not a really knocker. I'm trying to knock the algorithms and the science now. You know, I think a heart rate monitor is great and there's things, but you know, I got young kids. You know, they don't want to listen. They want to go to the Instagram or they want to go on YouTube to learn something, or they're not as they don't want to learn as much, or they're looking at their watches and they're saying, "Oh, I'm overtrained today. My watch says I need to take 3 days off," and I just want to smash their watches sometimes and be like, "What the? You talking about, man?" You know, like I know overtraining is a real thing. When you talk to athletes who overtrain, like, oh no, overtraining is a real thing, but they don't mean take a bunch of days off all the time. They mean like, hey, sometimes after 8 weeks of hard work, it's good to take 4 days off and relax and regroup and stuff, you know. But I don't know, maybe the old school mentality is a little different. I think there's still a lot of people like that. I just think there's a lot of things factored into the sport now, you know, the entertainment part, right? You know, everyone knows you can't just be, you have to be try to get a black belt in marketing, a black belt in shit talking now. it's just a little bit different, but there's some true warriors out there who I think their intent is just to become the best martial artists out there. And then there's others out there that I don't blame them for trying to, build their brand up and do their thing. But your question is, what is the difference? And I think those were the difference. We weren't chasing fame, fortune, Instagram followers, and we're just trying to chase the warrior life.
Oh, George, your mic just went out again.
Good. I think it was some shit talking joke right there. So I'm glad you cut him off, Coach. Good job. All right.
Let's see. No.
Oh, yeah. You muted him. Great work. Great work.
Yeah, it's taking a while.
That's way better right there. Let's do it.
It's taking a while to finally mute that guy, but yeah, dude, no, everything you just said, man, that really that hit home. You're right. I've seen that in the gyms before. It's just a different mentality. There's guys like Luke Rockhold, right, who's going to be fighting soon, that are still doing this and doing it at a high level. And then you have your guys like Dominic Cruz, who just suffered a loss, Jose Aldo, they're still around. So a lot of them are cut from that same cloth. Are you back, George?
I hope so. How do I sound?
Good.
Okay. I wanted to just crack another joke. I was just going to say, these young kids, remind them this is the scrap pack, not the nap pack. 3 days off is ridiculous. These watches, yeah, man, it's got to be done. I mean, you guys set the blueprint. You, the Diaz boys, Jake Shields, and then all the different other people that, worked around you guys for so many years. I mean, think about how many belts that is, how many pay-per-views have been sold. You know what I mean? Like that's pretty unique, that quartet of you four.
Absolutely.
And yeah, so like, I don't know, that tripped me out. 3 days off. My watch says this. I got to stop. Wow. I would think once I enter the door at Scrap Pack 3.0, like whatever you say goes, Coach.
Yeah. I love soldiers. Those are my favorite fight. They're out there still though, right? I'm looking for soldiers, people who just want to just follow direction. That's what I was, and then I also look for people to reach out. Like every morning you text your coach where and when is practice. I'll be there. You don't try to avoid your coach, and I get a lot of youngsters telling me, what's the what's the rhythm, what's the algorithm, or how do you get in cardio, or what's this and that, I'm like, man, you just got to go through hell, like what's the, we got to do your sprints. You got to spar your 3 5-minute rounds. You got to spar 25 minutes. People say they can train for 3 hours straight, and they can. I can train for 3 hours, 4 hours straight, but I bet I can get you tired in 15 minutes, 25 minutes replicating a fight, and you'll be on your back, like about to barf, right? So, I think, when people ask me, oh, how do you get in shape? You go to hell and back, you put yourself in those situations and you push, but we do have a lot of great warriors at the gym, but I look for those people, Jake does a really good job of calling people out. And if you're sitting on the wall, taking a round off, he'll call you a little bitch and tell you to come out. I'm not very good at that. If you want to be that guy in the corner, I'm like, go for it. I'm not going to gravitate towards you. But if you're a guy who's in the gym every day and putting his time in and doing hard work, I'm going to gravitate towards you. And, they gravitate towards me and we work hard together, because I'm still in the gym every day, except I'm not here right now. But you better believe I'll be there by 10 a.m. when I step off the plane, tomorrow, fly from here back over there, and I'll be in training, helping my guys out and getting some roles in myself. But I try to set that example. But back to what you're saying about our team, I really think if you look back on our careers and who we fought and what we did and how we did it, we just outworked the competition, and we just put ourselves through hell and back to get prepared for it. It was that simple.
Gil, since we brought up Jake, we see him a lot at Extreme Couture, and it reminds me of a time where I think after Quartet, you guys were kind of speaking out loud publicly in front of people, and there was a thought of maybe even you possibly coming to Vegas. Did you ever give that any serious thought, or do you have your roots planted firmly in Frisco? In fact, if I may, there was even thoughts of maybe one day returning to Southern California. So can you update us as far as like personally, what your thoughts are regarding that?
Yeah, Vegas is a great place. It's a fighter's town. My boy Jake is out there. He's a big part of my life. He's a big brother. He's a coach. He's a mentor. I look up to him. He's my guy. So when he says something, I definitely consider it. And yeah, of course, during the pandemic and all the hard times, you sometimes you want to go somewhere where a gym is welcome. and you don't want to go through some of those hurdles, and you want to be with your team, and you just want to get right to it. But in Southern California is where I'm from. I got a lot of family out there. My wife has family down there, and they try to get me down there. But I love the Bay Area. I've worked so hard, and during the pandemic, I started doing a little speakeasy training. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 people just started showing up little by little, and during that time I really recognized I was a top martial artist gym, and great training and everything, but I really recognized I'm a damn wellness center. I was really helping people during a hard time, just to be able to have a safe place to come exercise, to become a better mixed martial artist, a safe place where you can be whoever you are, and we respect anyone who just trains their ass off on the mats, and I think gyms are great that way, because there is a pecking order, and people don't think that's good sometimes, but I think it's great. You kind of earn your respect there through your training. There's really no discriminating. It's just if you work hard and you earn it, you move up. That's just how it goes. But to your question, I plan on staying in the Bay Area right now. I have San Francisco. I'm opening up a second one in the Marina on Union Street out there. And I feel like the city's coming back to life. And I think the Scrap Pack way, I have a new, I have a new dream and vision to kind of spread it out, open more gyms, and be like be an MMA gym and teach everyone everything I've learned about boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai, wrestling, jiu-jitsu, and more importantly about community. About family, about working together, about having some courage, having discipline, all those things I like to share with my community. So the Bay Area is where I'm going to be for a minute, but in a perfect world, brother, I would love to be in the Bay Area. I'd love to be in SoCal eventually, and in Vegas, all three of them. Those are definitely dreams and things I'm trying to push for one of these days.
Well, no one will put it past you. You've accomplished a lot of your dreams. So yeah, keep that faith. Maybe it'll happen one day. Just a couple more here, because I know obviously you got fights to call tonight. You mentioned your wife, Carrie Ann. I know she had a fight scheduled earlier this year, but about half of the year has gone by. So can you update us? Undefeated fighter, packs a lot of power in her punch as well, just like you did back in the day. Do you see her fighting this year? Was there an injury, or what can you tell us about that and everything going on in her career? You're her head coach, right?
Yeah, definitely her head coach. And we have a bunch of coaches that help her as well. So, of course, but yeah, my wife, I think she's a great fighter. There was during the re-signing process, it was a tough thing for Carrie, because she's more of like a 115. Actually, 120 would be a perfect weight class for her, but she was fighting 115s for Bellator, and there wasn't really a 115 weight class. So first, what took us some time is really making the decision that she wants to take the risk and going up to 125 and fighting some badasses in Bellator. There's some great 125-pound ladies out there that are tough. So when she made that decision and we went through with it, it took a minute, and to put on size and to feel like, okay, I can do this. That took a while. As soon as we made that decision, she separated her shoulder and had a pretty bad injury. And so that's kind of put things on the side. And, but she's been working hard, and she's the type of person. And for me, I don't care if she fights or not. I really, I want to help her accomplish her goals and push her to do what she wants. So I know she wants to make sure she feels ready and it's the right time. But as you get older, you kind of realize, it's never the right time. You're always going to be injured. There's always going to be little hiccups and things like that. But making that 125-pound debut is a lot of pressure for her. But I think we're going to get a fight in before the end of the year here. She's feeling healthy. She's been hitting pads. She feels sharp. I have a ton of confidence in her. She's really hard on herself, but I think she's an amazing fighter, and I hope to see her fight by the end of the year. It is the plan.
That's great to hear, and we wish her a speedy recovery. And then your boy Nate Diaz obviously has a big fight coming up against Khamzat Chimaev. In the past 20 years, you guys have worked together, whether it's every day or maybe once a week. You guys have been head coaches, lead cornermen, things like that. What's your relationship nowadays with Nate? Have you been involved in any of the preparations? Will you be involved? And on fight night, will you, I guess, be there to support in any capacity?
Yeah, Nate's my brother. All those boys are my brothers. You know, we are kind of spread out a little bit more now. I'm focused on my youngsters over here. I have a really good amateur squad coming up. We have a really good pro fighter, Hyder Emil, who just had a big win in a main event against Chase Gibson in LFA. So we have a lot of guys that we're bringing and taking care of over here, and Nate's doing the same thing. He has his whole crew out there that he's focusing on, and so we don't see each other as much. We talk all the time on the phone. But of course, I'm going to make my way up there and get some training in and go support him, give him my 2 cents. He's always so humble and so great. And he always listens to everybody and takes it in. And you know, he's training his ass off always. And we do talk. We get some FaceTimes in and we text each other and all that. And I will definitely be there to support. You know, like I said, it's a challenge for us to be together every second, every day, like when we were youngsters. And, you know, that's all we did is dedicate our time to that. But he has a really good squad of people around him all the time that are always pushing him and that are just, you know, trying to walk alongside him and soak up as much greatness as they can. But definitely I'm there to support him. I'll be there in Vegas to watch him. And, you know, he knows anytime he needs me, he can call me. I check up on him all the time. And I plan on next week going to go check him out there and bring some guys up and you know, give him some good wrestling looks and all that good stuff.
Awesome. Well, again, Gil, thank you so much for letting us catch up with you. It's been a minute, touched on a lot of different topics, and we wish you the success in whatever you do. First up is obviously Calling the Fights with Ron Kruk, LFA, still one of the top organizations that has groomed a lot of fighters who have become major stars like Gilbert was. And so obviously we wish you the best on the call tonight. And then anything happening in the future, whether it's, you know, one more fight, let's do it, or, you know, coaching your wife, whatever it is, opening new gyms, we wish you the greatest success as always.
Hey, thank you guys very much, man. I was have a good time chatting with you guys. And yeah, hopefully do it again soon.